OLT.com, which stands for Online Taxes, is a tax software available to those who are looking for really cheap pricing to file their federal and state return. We're going to be covering a complete walkthrough in this video. Hey guys, it's Justine with The College Investor, investing and personal finance for millennials. Today we are taking a look at OLT.com. And I have to say, this one is probably the most old school looking user interface out of all the tax software that we have reviewed this year. So let's go ahead and answer the question, is OLT.com really free to file your taxes? While they do mention on the website that they have a free edition, you actually do have to pay a little bit of money to file your return. Tax software companies love using free in their marketing language, but really you do have to pay. So right here on the home screen, it says free federal return for everyone. Each state return is $9.95. So if I scroll down here to the bottom, you're going to see the free edition, which isn't really free. State return is $9.95. You get customer support via email, import prior year data. The premium edition is $7.95 for the federal, but each state tax return is only $7.95. You get everything in the free edition, which looks like pretty much the same thing, only customer support. You're able to get that through live chat and phone, audit support, and year-over-year comparison. So I would say in most cases, people may want to bump up into this premium edition if you are really looking for some hand-holding and a little bit more guidance and functionality for your tax return versus the free edition. So what's new in 2023 for OLT.com? Well, with the new tax code changes from the IRS, you are going to see that reflective inside of the tax software. But last year, they actually made some major improvements to their tax software. So this year, they only did some moderate adjustments. So in addition to new limits for credits and deductions and tax bracket changes, you're going to see all that reflective in the software. Think of this as a very budget-friendly tax software, less flashy user interface. It's just bare bones. This is what you get. There's nothing else. So if you have a pretty simple tax filing situation and you want to do this on the cheap, maybe OLT.com is right for you. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the software and let's see how it works. Okay, so upon entering into the dashboard, as you can see, it's pretty bare bones, and honestly, this really does look like early 2000s design and aesthetic. For me, if I've seen constant improvements on the user experience, I feel like I just automatically have more trust in that tax software because they've taken the time to really understand what a tax filer goes through as they're entering in this information. We're not all CPAs, so make this easy for us. Show us how we can actually get this done. So my trust level with OLT.com is kind of like, have you guys really factored in some upgrades here to think about the average tax filer? Regardless, off my soapbox, let's go ahead and jump into our tax return. So here it says, select your return type. Form 1040, U.S. Individual Income Tax Return. This includes all filing statuses. This is a lot different than how other tax software, in fact, all the tax software that I've reviewed this past year, we just jumped directly into the federal tax return. So if you didn't actually know the code number for that tax return form, you'd be like, what? I'm here to file my tax return. I don't think it's intuitive here to know exactly what they're asking for. But Form 1040 is what we want, so save and continue. And let's take a look at the options that we have. So we can do the free version, which includes the 1040, all the tax forms supported, the customer support via email, import prior year data. But the premium version is $7.95, so you're going to be paying $15 all in $7.95 for the federal and $7.95 for the state, and then you get audit support, customer support via phone and live chat. I like that, so let's go ahead and do the premium edition. All right, save and continue return. Okay, so we're finally inside of the dashboard. You're going to see at the top the green refund area, which will automatically update as we enter in information. Also, I just don't like how this is set up because it almost looks like I can click around on the right hand side, but look, it's literally an image. Navigation is easy. Use the menu on the left. Yeah, okay, I understand. I don't know why they had to include a picture of this. I almost feel like they could use little pop-up like tour boxes, or it even says right here, take a tour. This is exactly what they should lead with, and then just take out this image because that's confusing. All right, save and continue return. First things first, with any tax return, you're going to start with your general information. I just put fake information in here for the sake of this walkthrough. So you're going to include, obviously, your real info, first, last name, social, healthcare. Did the primary taxpayer receive a Form 1095A health insurance marketplace statement? No. Usually, are you sure? Oh, I meant to hit no. Why did it say yes? Here we go. No. Okay, usually that question is asked more towards the end of the federal return, so it's interesting that they asked that up front. Other information, earned income eligibility information, save and continue return. Now, one thing that I did notice about this tax software is because I used it last year, it does appear that they copied over my personal information to this year. So that's really nice. Let's see, mailing address and resident state, save and continue. All right, now we're getting into the filing status, single, more personal information. Okay, once I entered in my personal information, you can see how the left-hand menu has really opened up here. So under my info, I can actually go back in through this section, and if I needed to add anything, then I could quickly go back into that section. Let's see, dependent info, yeah. So, ooh, life events. Here we go. Okay, so this is where the original screen, if I needed to go back, I could always just hit this drop-down menu and then go back and enter in any information that I missed. So income that I received in 2021, I do like that they use these little tiles. That's nice, and something that I've seen on more premium tax software where they're using icons and almost like buttons inside of the tax software. I feel like visually, if you're a visual person, visual learner, I feel like that's really going to help you out. However, there's still a lot of text, and I just think the overall layout definitely needs an overhaul, but this is nice. So below are common types of income. Please select all that apply to you. So let's say we had a W-2, maybe some 1099s that we need to enter, and maybe some rental real estate. We'll add a new W-2. Okay, so here's the thing about adding W-2s inside of OLT. You have to manually enter in that information. So there is no option to import that information directly into the tax software. So if you are prone to error and you've got fumble fingers on the keyboard, you may want to consider a tax software that allows for those imports automatically, or even just doing a PDF or snapshot. In fact, H&R Block does a really good job of doing that, but you're going to pay a lot more money. So really, what's the sacrifice? Is the sacrifice going to be you paying more money for the tax software, or you spending more time keying in your information and really making sure you've keyed it in correctly? All right, so let's just go ahead and fill in some fake information here about our W-2. So it's funny, when I entered in my wages, tips, and compensation, it automatically filled that out for box 3 and 5, and then also calculated the tax withholdings for Social Security and Medicare. So hopefully that is actually what's shown on your W-2. Otherwise, it looks like OLT is just going to automatically populate that for you. So let's see, what if we did? Okay, qualified retirement savings contribution credit. Oh, okay. This is not very intuitive. What is this? Contributions from W-2. Contribution to traditional and Roth IRA. Calculated value 0, override value. What if I like fully max it out to 6,000? Let's see what happens. Okay. I guess that worked. That was a little confusing. Now you can see what my taxes owed are $1,500 based upon what I put inside of the W-2. Now you're going to see a quick summary of all the income that we can report. So I did say we had 1099 INT form. Let's click Add New. Let's say this is from Capital One Savings. And then let's say we had interest income of $145. No foreign accounts. No and no. All right, so that's been reported. So that's pretty easy to input. 1099 div. I wish it didn't automatically circle in on done with 1099 div. Like, I want to add it, so let's add it. I feel like this step could be completely taken out of the process. So let's go ahead and add this. And then we'll do ordinary dividends of $130. Okay, so pretty easy to key in those income forms, and you can see a list of all of these common investment incomes here. So if I click Done with Investment Income, did you make any payments that would require you to file Form 1099? Let's say no. Done with Schedule E. Did you have any income or loss from real estate mortgage investment conduits, residual holder? Let's say yes. I wish, okay, so another thing that I feel like is lacking here is that there's no explanation of what's going on in this section of my tax return. So Schedule E Part 4, and then if this was my first time reporting this, I think I would want some hand holding here, and I did ask, let's see if you can do get help, knowledge base, live chat, phone support, new ticket. So that's going to completely open up a different window to their knowledge base, and I do what area I'm in. Yeah, I feel like that didn't even help me out at all. I could say real estate, mortgage, oh, here we go. Yeah, it's just not helpful. Like, I almost wish they would say, here's where you find this information. Okay, here we go. Save and return. No. All right, now that we've input that, which was not very intuitive, you can see how that changed the amount of taxes owed. So it was $1,500, now it's $3,700. So we can see the W-2 information, the 1099s that we entered in, and then you can see all these other sections here. The Schedule E that we entered in, and then if there's any other sections that you need to fill out, looks like this is just a drop down. Okay, that's nice. All right, let's say we're done with income summary. Let's look at any adjustments that need to apply. Save and continue. And it's going to be the same, it looks like the exact same thing depending on what section you're in. It's going to be the same look and feel. So you're going to be able to see summary sections, which I really like. That was lacking in some other tax software. So you can see all of that in one screen, and then we go into deductions. So we're actually just making our way down this list and seeing exactly what information we need to enter. So let's say we want to choose the standard deduction. We are not residents of Puerto Rico. Deduction section checklist. New charitable contributions if you take the standard deduction. Let's see. If you don't itemize, you can take a charitable deduction up to $300 for cash contributions made. Do not enter more than $300. Okay, let's say we did. All right, done with deductions summary. Now we're on to credits. None of those. Credit summary. I feel like, okay, this is weird too. If I go back to credits, go back to credits. The tile icons and then the summary list, this looks a little bit different. So I don't know, that might trip you up if you're like, wait, why does the summary page look different than where the list of icons was? Okay, so any other tax situations, this is the tax summary. If you needed to include anything else, this is where you would find that. Net investment income tax, other taxes. If I was a new tax filer, I'd be like, what is this? So I would think for first-time filers, maybe avoid OLT because it's not intuitive whatsoever. So which of these payments apply to you in the tax year? Earned income credit, estimated tax payments, other payments. Now, they could make this a little bit more intuitive by having like some question mark icons here to say what exactly that is, what they're asking. But we're gonna go ahead and skip that, and then we'll see the summary here. So, okay, this is the other thing. If we go back to that icon page, the 3 options that I had have now been expanded into some of these additional options. So I feel like there's a disconnect here. List of other forms sections. Save and continue. Okay, it's just flagging me because I probably put in information that wasn't exactly matching up. Let's just get to the tax summary. Here we go. All right, so now that we've entered in the information, they're going to show us a window of the federal tax summary and then our total income. And then you get the payment option of doing an electronic funds withdrawal, I will pay the IRS directly, or some sort of installment agreement. So we'll just say we'll pay the IRS directly. No estimated tax payment vouchers. Okay. All right, we made it. We made it. Okay, print and mail federal forms for paper file. Okay, looks like I am printing these pages and filing my federal return. Then you can move on to the state return, which is basically going to take you through those major summary sections just like the federal return. And that information gets copied and pulled over to that state return, and then they're going to ask you for more state-specific information. All in all, this was kind of a clunky user interface, and for a tax filer just starting out or has complex tax filing situations, you might want to look elsewhere, and that's a look inside of OLT. All right, so OLT.com is a bargain tax software, but as you could see through the walkthrough, I really kind of stumbled around trying to figure out exactly where I was supposed to be and what information needed to be filled in. And also some of those yellow highlighter boxes were very distracting. And I felt like I just really was unsure of what the software was asking of me. If you're looking for bargain tax software, you might want to consider Free Tax USA or TaxAct or TaxSlayer, which offers a way better user interface than OLT.com, but also has a really good price point. I just feel like, you know, for $15 for the premium version of this guy, even that knowledge base just looked awful. I saw the option for live chat and support, but I just don't even know that that would be worth it to me, knowing that I would have to use something like that when I could get a better user experience with something like Free Tax USA and still not pay an arm and a leg to file my tax return. So while I wasn't impressed with OLT's user interface and the ability to easily file my tax return, there are a bunch of options available to you to consider to file your tax return in 2023. Don't forget, we have complete walkthroughs and reviews of all the latest and greatest tax software available at thecollegeinvestor.com. If you like this one, be sure to give it a big thumbs up so we can reach other tax filers. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you in the next video.